Hi, I'm Jeremiah. Welcome to Up at Night. This podcast is all about learning from thought leaders, academics, and professionals based on one fundamental question. What keeps you up at night? Hey everyone, welcome to Up at Night. I'm joined today by the amazing Dr. Patrick Owen, whom I already had the chance to interview on my other podcast, The Wake Up Call. Dr. Patrick Owen is obviously someone extremely known when it comes to ancestral health and functional nutrition, lecturer at McGill University in the School of Dietetics and Human Nutrition. Also, you probably heard about Patrick on Ask Man's Tribe series a couple of years ago. Patrick is also extremely involved with the executive world when it comes to coaching them, because as executive, we need to perform at the best, right? But more importantly, what I love about Dr. Patrick Owen is his passion about wellness. So, Patrick, thank you so much for being with me today.
Hey, man, thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure, Jeremiah. Thank you, man.
You have so many hats.
Yeah.
How can you sustain yourself the amount of energy you need to wear them all almost at the same time? Where does that passion come from, Patrick?
Self-delusion. It's self-delusion. I can't wear all these hats at the same time. That's not, honestly, it's not balanced. I went from an ethnobotanist to a nutrition coach to now I'm entering the world of psychology and then ancestral health and mental wellness. So yeah, it's not a balancing act. It really is trying to focus on one thing until my other buckets are overflowing, and then I have to divert my attention. It's quite stressful.
It's stressful. Yeah. I can imagine, because you're one of the rare person I know that really was able to turn a passion into a project.
Yeah.
That trickled down into a career. And you're one of the definition of really becomes the best at what you like, and you might end up making a career out of this. So can you walk us through that a little bit, from a younger age, being passionate about that to actually coming to the realization that, hey, you know what, I can make this a career. Walk us through that, please.
It's actually, I hate to say it, but I was a very passive in this process. It really started when I graduated from university. I got a PhD in human nutrition, but the jobs out there in nutrition weren't there. You know, I have to say, I wasn't part of the Order of Dietitians of Canada. And so it's very confusing, because what I needed to get was a degree in dietetics and not nutrition. So I wasn't eligible for that, even though I had 2 postdocs and everything. So the jobs were just not there. So that was kind of like, well, why, what have I done? Right. So I started getting into I got a government role, and federal government stuff, man, that's a soul killer in a way. And just to do a side gig, I got into personal training. And as a personal training was definitely where I really loved helping people. And I said, you know what, I got a PhD in nutrition. So I started developing nutrition meal plans, in secret, because it's illegal for me to do that, because I'm not part of the Order of Dietitians of Canada. Now I realize, now that I'm saying that out loud, I'm probably going to get some calls from some lawyers. But that doesn't matter. This led to the entrepreneurial spirit, thinking like, hey, maybe I could do some consultations and meal plans. And obviously, I took a different approach. I took an ancestral approach, an evolutionary approach. And, it's one of those things where I can make a career out of this, but unfortunately, one-on-one consultations, there's so many hours in the day, and it's not like you and I talk for an hour and then I'd be like, all right, well, I'm going to take a little break and I got a new client. Like, no, I got to take another 1, 2, 3 hours to actually build a meal plan, personalize it, and sending it out. So it wasn't a very viable business model. And eventually I had to say, like, listen, I love doing this, but I'm going to need something more stable.
Was there a specific moment where you had this realization that, okay, I've learned all this about nutrition,
Mm-hmm.
and you went into the ancestral approach
Yeah.
where you said, I can actually make something different
Yeah.
from the traditional nutritional path
Yeah.
and make a career out of this?
It's it stems from my field work in Tibet, in the highlands of Tibet, where I went in with a certain dogma about, what I was taught in nutrition, and then coming out with a whole new world and a whole new way of thinking. Basically, the Highlanders of Quebec follow what we now know as the ketogenic diet, but back in the days, it was just like an extremely high fat, high sodium, low fruits and vegetable diet, and yet they were thriving. So I called it at the time a Tibetan paradox, and I wrote a book chapter about it. But with more and more research, I realized like it's not a paradox. It's actually basic human adaptation to your resources. And when the keto diet became popular, I've always been taught that being in a state of ketosis was a sign of danger. It's only looking at evolutionary biology where you realize that falling into ketosis is a natural human process during times of food instability. That's why we're the fattest primate to ever walk the earth, is because we got to keep it on us, because there's many times where we just don't have enough food to feed our hungry brain. So that shift in thinking, all right, not only the evolution of our species, but what about our ancestry, where we come from the world? And if you could just separate the more polar ancestry types versus the more equatorial, we realize that there's small little adaptations that might make it more personalized. And so that was the idea that I took. I'm thinking like, we're talking about personalized nutrition specifically for you, not a cookie cutter. And I'm going to take your genetics, your ancestry into account. And for a lot of people, that's what we want. Like, what's the perfect
Yeah.
thing for me? And I went down that rabbit hole. I'm looking at your body shape, your metabolic type, your ancestry, your even your psychological profile. I'm thinking like, hey, these not only nutrition, but you got to take up these other lifestyle factors. And that kind of exploded the whole world into now into like ancestral wellness, which envelops all these things, realizing that you need way more than just nutrition to feel good.
The one thing I would like to ask you is the way you talk about that passion seems to hide all the efforts that were made. So you actually went to Tibet. You went all around the globe. You, in a certain way, in the eyes of others, you sacrificed a lot to gain access to that knowledge.
Yeah.
What was that source of motivation? Did you doubted yourself, saying like, hey, I'm actually in Tibet trying to learn something that I don't even know if this is going to help me put food on my table? Or how did you pursue that goal without doubting? Or when you have doubt, how did you went through that?
At the time, when you're a student traveling the world, you're not thinking about the future. It's, in fact, I would say that the student lifestyle was quite addictive to me, because I was traveling to other parts of the world, Papua New Guinea, Tibet, Northern Canada, India. And so I thought this is like the lifestyle that I love, the Indiana Jones lifestyle. And I didn't even think further than that, honestly, until I handed in my thesis and the real world hit. By this time, I was in my mid-30s. Most of my friends had already started a family, a stable job, a house, and I heard the word mortgage for the first time in my life. So I had a late start in that, like the reality of it. And so I was still, and I felt it. I felt it like, holy crap, like this is the real world. Like I was in the ivory tower, and that's its own little world. And when I got out, I realized that it's different. I wasn't really taught. I wasn't really prepared for the real world. And so I had to go through a whole learning process. So what I did was I used the tools that I used in academia, which is research. Now, this is my main weakness, is that I do too much research and I wait a long time before I apply it. So I've been using, I've become a lot better where I still want to know things, but even if I don't know everything, I'll just start and learn as I go along. So that was a major um, shift in my style. Another shift was I became more extrovert. I was a pathological introvert, talking
Really?
only to other academics, right? That's my circle. And then I had to talk to real people with different interests and everything. I was like, oh my gosh, like, so, so I had to apply an academic approach to that, did research about how to become a little bit more social, how to become, overcome, approach anxiety, fear of rejection and all like that. So I did field work, believe it or not. And after a while, from a pathological introvert to a public speaker, it takes a shift. And so I use these kind of examples to thinking like this is leading up to somewhere. And passion can only, I believe, like I love what I'm doing. And um, the biggest hurdle is not, okay, how do I make money off of this? How do I support my family with this? How do I mix both worlds? Because the world it's a cruel life, you know? And most of the time, there's a lack of self-confidence because of my fear that I won't be able to do this. Like it's not me. It's I got to think of other people. And so that's been a huge fear of mine to say like, well, let's jump in full. And it's one of those things that I was telling my mind, let's give it a try. Whereas that's giving you a way out. So yeah, many times I was pulled in and said like, no, get a stable job, make more money because this is real world. This is, you got to really, so it really has been a seesaw act, for the last 20 years, I would say. And so when things are going really good, I'm thinking like, yes, my passion is working. Yes. When things are bad, like, oh my God, I need a stable job because it's not just me. And if it is just me, then I have start feelings of guilt and selfishness. And I think that a lot of entrepreneurs, especially those who have dependents, must feel that way as well.
One thing I love that you showcase when you describe that is we make often the analogy of the roller coaster in business. And this roller coaster, you're probably the person who have the most equipment in his toolbox to manage stress, to manage, how to handle that at a personal level. Yet you still have to go through it, right? So if you were to talk to your younger self, if you were to talk to someone who's thinking about a business idea that is sometimes we need to be a little bit crazy to start our own business, what would you tell them? What advice would you give them to start on that path?
That's a great question. And dude, I'm pragmatic. So you're never going to hear follow your heart out of my mouth. Never, right? I'm a very realistic guy. And what I would tell my younger self is start young, start when you don't have kids, when you don't have as much responsibilities, when you could put 100% of everything you have in there. At the same time, I see a lot of entrepreneurs when they're adults, when their children are not dependent anymore. And so that's a really good time. That's what I suggest. If your mind is too scattered, like mine has been, you have too many balls, you're juggling too many balls in the air and some will drop. And I've been in those in those situations. I hate to say it, but many times. And then there's this feeling of like, oh my God, I'm talking the talk, but I'm not walking the walk. I'm tired. I'm showing up exhausted with belly fat, disheveled, foggy mind, And so what happens then? You don't feel authentic. You don't feel genuine. You're thinking like, and you're not going to talk about it to anyone because someone's going to say like, well, this guy's, yeah, he's not walking the walk. He's not following his own advice. And so there's this disconnect where you feel guilty, but, um, in the end, it makes me feel more empathetic for everybody else who's going through big struggles because I know what you're going through. in, and I think I can relate a lot more, especially to my clients when they say they're going through a hard time. And listen, they're coming to me for a meal plan or an exercise plan. And I'm thinking like, all right, well, let's talk about your relationship. Let's talk about your workplace. Yeah, man, I'm not a psychologist, man, but you realize that fat is a survival tissue. And they came to see me because they want to lose weight or they want to get rid of a chronic illness. And
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
basis, it's, I'm not sleeping enough because I'm stressed. I'm stressed because I don't have enough money. I don't have enough money because of all this. And I'm thinking like, oh boy, dude, yeah, I get it. I get it. It is not easy out there. And so I think I'm more relatable in that way, but I don't feel, um, like I'm not a guy who shows his vulnerability. Does that make sense? Yes.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and I mean, you know what? To be honest, entrepreneurs are taught you have to be the backbone. You have to be so strong. You can't show any crack, right?
Yeah.
Because it's such we have so much pressure, and it's so lonely, and we have to sell something. We have to sell ourselves, and you fall in the same category as a coach, right? You're supposed to have the solution,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And it just makes it so much harder because you live with that extra weight that you got to carry. So thank you so much for sharing that, because I truly believe that, especially nowadays, what we see online is often so disconnected from the reality of what we go through internally.
Yeah.
And that's the objective of having people like you on my pod. Is you've achieved success when it comes to helping other understanding what's going on, but it doesn't protect you. It doesn't make you immune to going through the same exact thing in your personal life. And I really do appreciate you sharing that with us, because yeah, let's talk about a bit the cost of that success, because you were talking offline about the fact that at some point, even very recently, you had to make decisions as
Yeah.
to what you want to pursue. So please tell us a bit about that.
Well, when I was a full-time entrepreneur, I'm going to say pre-COVID, basically 3 years right before COVID, I was trying out the one-on-one consultations and I had clients and it was okay. Not amazing, but okay. Um, but yeah, I got a steady job during COVID that was remote and flexible. So it was, I was told it was not time-based, but performance-based. They were results-based, which is great because I needed that. At the same time, my public speaking career took off because mental health started getting really a huge problem. And someone heard me at a talk and they said, that ancestral approach to mental health makes sense. It's applicable. It's based in evidence. It's not, fluffy. Love it. And so word spread and that started taking off. And I love that. Honestly, I love teaching. I love spreading the word. I love spreading the gospel. What I don't like though is the administrative stuff, the social media stuff, and so I know it's got to be done and maybe whatever. I'm not going to get into that. But still, it was not stable. And so my 9 to 5 job, what happens is that eventually it's over now, but it was remote. We had a Monday morning meetings all the time, right? And so I wasn't telling them about my public speaking career because it really, at the beginning when I was hired, it wasn't a thing. Once in a blue moon here and there, but it took off. And so maybe 4 times a month, once a week, more or less, I'd be flying off to Vancouver or Halifax or Oklahoma or something like that. And I would continue to show up for these meetings, but at the airport or in a hotel room, or it's like I was like keeping it, and I was doing a good job until I won an award. And then when I won the award, they were plastering it all over social media. Congratulations, Patrick Owen, you won, Speaker of the Year kind of thing. I couldn't hide it anymore. And so my boss says like, well, congratulations on your what? What is this all about? And so, yeah, I wasn't forthcoming. I don't blame them for letting me go, but I still tried to, give the results, but obviously time was very limited. And yeah, I was burning out. Absolutely. The traveling, trying to maintain the public speaking circuit, as well as a 9 to 5 obligations. On top of, I haven't let go of my consultations. So once or twice a week, I would have a client, and they would usually be evenings or weekends, which would take time away from my kids.
And you're also a dad on top of that.
I'm also a dad. Yes, I'm also a dad on top of that. And I take fatherhood very seriously. Man, if I'm passionate about ancestral wellness, I am passionate about fatherhood as well. But come from September to December is when I teach that course at McGill. So then we added on another obligation. Unfortunately, McGill's not doing so well financially. They're laying off a lot of people recently, and they took away my TA, my teaching assistant. And so now I started having to grade all the papers, and so it was a time of disaster. Like everything, like I was sleeping 3-4 hours a night, trying to maintain everything, all my obligations, and things started falling through the cracks. I was forgetting to do things, and it was really, really, I think I burned out. I'm not sure. As an entrepreneur, you got that mind like thinking like, hey, just put on a happy face, put a good. But yeah, it was not sustainable. And so I realized like, yeah, I can't do this. And so I figured I'll follow my heart and said, I let go of the 9 to 5, and I'll say like, let's go where this public speaking career is going to go. Let's see. Let's commit to this. Right. And so 2025 has been this effort to not only do public speaking, but to offer programs and help that focuses on community and ancestry, a tribal mentality, especially when it comes to corporations, with kids as well. I mean, I'm entering in the whole place of where we're in a phase of hyper individualism, which is killing us slowly in terms of mental health and lack of accountability and entitlement. And I see it at school. You see it in the workplace. You see it in relationships. So that's where I'm at.
And you know what? It's funny because we've never used the term social media, social gathering. So yet being completely alone and secluded and having our digital twin taking over our personal life. You're absolutely right. One thing I'm curious about that is because of what happened, you were close to a burnout from what you're saying. What change in your approach to jumping back in this career? Are you going to build a system? Are you going to, what's going to make your approach to transforming that passion into a business differently than a couple of years ago?
Well, I love that question. Yeah. And that simple answer is mentors. The mentors, and I like to include you in that kind of thing. You've given me amazing advice on that. I have the knowledge in terms of health, and I need knowledge in terms of an entrepreneurial venture. So having mentors and having people who believe in me and who are thinking like, you know what, you got it, you got what we need right now. And my question is, great, how do I make money off of this thing? How do I build my social media network? How do I make how? And so it goes back to community. When you're so busy, you're alone. And when you feel like you're going at it alone. And the main difference today is that I do have mentors. They recommend books that I read. They recommend people that I speak to. They recommend systems and software. They recommend businesses that I can talk to. This is amazing. And honestly, Jeremiah, when I'm feeling like overwhelmed, I isolate like most guys, right? But man, when I get a text from one of my mentors, like, hey, how are we doing today? I don't feel it. Just that fires me up again, thinking like, dude, you're not alone. You might feel alone, but you're not alone. And so I've been more proactive because this guy sent me a text. You know what? I'm gonna send this other guy a text saying like, hey, can we do lunch? I'd love to pick your brain. And that is the main difference, man. It makes a world of a difference when you feel like
Yeah.
you're not at it completely alone. You got people who are like in your corner, and man, you got to be selective. You know, you got to find what a mutual friend of ours says, like, select your team and be really careful how you select your team. It's not just anybody who wants to help you out and stuff. You just gotta,
Yeah.
try.
It's I think entrepreneurship is a little bit of coming up with a new sports. It's a great idea, but until you make it happen, it's just an idea. And then until people come see it because it's really good, it's just a dumb idea, right? And if you don't have the right team to play that sport and showcase how cool it is, it's going to be very, very, very hard to succeed. So you're absolutely right. Coaching, having the right mindset, having the experience, it's kind of a trifecta that is really necessary nowadays to achieve success. Patrick, I would like to ask you the following. What still keeps you up at night these days when it comes to building that business of yours?
What keeps me up is exactly what's keeping up 88% of Canadians: financial worries. It's the number one stressor today, with cost of living, with the future of our kids and everything. And it's such a pragmatic answer. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. You know, and it's not like money will make things better. It's just that money's going to remove a lot of the worries that you're having. And it's not, that's, you know, apart from other stresses in your professional and personal life, you're thinking that, if I had that, at least it would take away some of that burden so that I can focus more on other things.
Yeah.
The world we live in.
It's funny. It's so funny that you say that because, you know, I was thinking how a government could really empower entrepreneurship. Well, I can tell you, pretty much anybody who listens to the pod now, if they don't have to worry about a mortgage or putting food on their table, we would have a heck of a lot more entrepreneurs. If I didn't have a mortgage to pay and I was guaranteed to eat well every single day, the amount of project that would kickstart on a daily basis or help people around me to make it happen would probably be even greater than what I'm able to do right now. So, you know what? Thanks, because I think it's the first time I hear that in a pod coming from an entrepreneur. But you're absolutely right. There is probably more entrepreneur. We as entrepreneur probably have more debt than any other person because we have to take this risk, right? So thanks for
like I said, I'm pragmatic, man. I'm not the raw type. So womp. Give me money. You need money? I'll love to give you money.
I appreciate that. So Dr. Patrick Owen, if people are curious about your work, if people are curious about ancestral health, nutrition, what is the best way to start to be informed about it, reach out to you, get in touch with you? Which are the best platforms to...
Thanks. Well, I do have a website. It's www.drpatrickowen.com. And on social media, I'm at Dr. Pat Owen, DrPatowen. So Patrick Owen, if you Google me and a face like mine pops up, that's probably going to be me.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you in a future event. And thank you so much for what you're doing, because you're in the category of entrepreneurs that truly makes the world a better place. And I love to see that. Thank you.
Make a better place for all of us, man. And you're part of that equation too, eh? I love it. Thank you so much for your contribution. It's amazing, honestly. Whew. All right, let's keep working together, brother.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being part of the Up at Night family. If you've liked what you heard today, don't forget to rate, follow, subscribe, or leave me a comment below. New episodes of Up at Night drop every 2 weeks. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a single episode. I'm Jeremiah Curvers. Until next time.